Yeah, really. Okay, so how bill really becomes a law. So here's my kind of approach to this for you guys. Sean and Janae, former colleagues of mine, are going to give probably a much more detailed view than what I'm going to give you. Mine is more of an advocate viewpoint, how to, and more specifically, how not to advocate for a position. How not to is much more important than how to. I call this the adult NC-17 version, not the Schoolhouse Rock version. Okay? And I'm going to challenge you, and I might even offend you a little bit. If you want to play in politics, get tougher. I don't know how else to tell you. It's just the way it is. This is the battle. This is the ultimate battlefield. Everything that you do in your life is governed by some rule or law or ordinance or, you know, whether it's how you flush your toilet, how many gallons of water are used, to the chemicals that are used in the striping on the road, to what can be added to your milk and your food. Every aspect of your life is controlled by politics. People say politics don't matter, they're ignorant. And in case you hadn't tell you, I'm going to be very blunt and very direct because I want you to get the message. You know, going on, let's get past that. Why are you here and are you lost? It's got to be the most boring subject on the planet. I'm going to offend you enough to not make it boring, but most people on a Saturday morning don't find this very fun. So I ask if you're lost. Why am I doing this? I'll tell you why I'm doing this. For all the reasons that Ryan mentioned, I'm doing this. I can't stand behind a podium very much. I like to walk around too much. The other thing is that I hate waste, whether it's government waste, whether it's personal waste, whether it's wasted time. I cannot tell you the number of times that I sat in my office that I had when I was in Jeff City, and somebody would come into the office sent to me by the speaker's office because they didn't have time, so I would meet with a lot of people. And a lot of these groups showed up literally a day late. Like that bill had already been passed that they were advocating against. And I had the Sierra Club had come to the Capitol to advocate against a particular position. And of course they demanded to see the speaker, and the speaker didn't have time because if you want to see the speaker, you got to schedule that about 3 weeks in advance. So if you show up to the Capitol and expect to walk in the speaker's office, it won't happen. Take that note, plan ahead. So I took the meeting. I had a little office down on the first floor, and I took the meeting. And they were very concerned about the bill that, I remember what the bill number was. Sean, help me out here. It was the reclamation of the current river. Remember that was a big deal?
Yes.
Anyways, so they're like, we want the speaker to stop this bill. And I reached over to my phone, and in the Capitol, all the LAs and all the assistants, they have a button, and you can hear the debate on the House floor or the Senate floor. That bill was being debated on the House floor while they were in my office. Let me give you a hint. If it's being debated on the House floor, the issue's already been decided, and you either won or already lost. It doesn't matter. Because the debate on the House floor is almost always scripted. It's already planned. The votes have already been counted. The outcome already determined. So if you show up that day, you've either won or lost, but there's nothing you can do about it. What do you hope to learn? I hope, since we don't have time for Q&A, I won't ask you, but hopefully, whatever your issue is, whatever your concerns are, you want to either affect change. Somebody asked me once, what was my personal goal? I said, listen, I'm here to stop as many laws from getting passed and see as many laws repealed as possible. We have too many. Life would be a lot better if there was, I always say less is more. If we had less laws, we'd have more, plain and simple. So why are you here again? Hopefully you're here to want to go to Jeff City, want to talk to your legislators, want to be involved, and get engaged, and get other people to get engaged. So understanding the basics. All right. I know this is like, for this particular group, this is probably common sense, and you already know this, but we do not live in a democracy. Democracy is nothing better than glorified mob rule. It is a very large ship that is all sails and no anchor and no rudder. That's what democracy is. Our founding fathers did not give us a democracy, they gave us a constitutional republic. Understanding your form of government This is the first step to understanding how to advocate in that government. I recently, I think you're all aware of the Common Core issue and the House Bill 1490. So I sat in on one of the first parent work group, the first day of the parent work group sessions. And the DESE people passed around this thing and they wanted us to rank what we thought were the top 2 reasons for public education. Then there was 5 things on the sheet. And one of them said was to prepare children to become adults to engage in their democracy. And I said, I'm sorry, we don't live in a democracy, we live in a constitutional republic. We use the democratic method by which to elect our representation, but we are not a democracy. And do you know what the facilitator said to me? Well, that may be true, but I'm certain that they chose that word for a reason. And I said, you're right, they did, but they're wrong. Political action is your political birthright. It is the check and balance that isn't enumerated in the Constitution that our founding fathers expected. Ryan talked about Christian heritage and background and everything. Whether you're a Christian or not, our founding form of government, there's not a single thing in the U.S. Constitution that isn't based on a biblical principle.
Amen.
People live in this, everybody, I don't care how nice you are, I don't care how good you are. I mean, Walt's over there, I like Walt, he's a good guy. Mark's my boss, he's a good guy. Guess what? They're sinners. If no one's watching, they'll do bad things. It's who we are. That's the way it is. Our founding fathers knew this, and so they set up checks and balances. Your job is to be the check and balance for every elected official that there is. I had an elected official, low-level elected official one time, get upset because I challenged him. And he goes, well, you don't even live in my district. I said, okay, I'll make you a deal. I won't criticize you because I don't live in your district. But I read all the things where you criticize other elected officials. You can't criticize another elected official that doesn't live within your district. That was the end of that argument. It is your job. It is your constitutional duty to challenge your elected officials. I don't care how much you like them. Okay? Paul Kirkman and Jim Lemke are going to be here either, and they're good guys. I like them. Challenge them. Don't give an inch, because guess what? If nobody's watching, good people will do stupid things. I see it every day. And bad people will do bad things, and I see that every day. And just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're always going to do good things. And just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you're always going to do bad things. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm trying, I know it's early in the morning, so I'm trying really hard to keep y'all engaged here. This is maybe not the exciting stuff. I want you to read that, and I want you to understand it. Because here's the problem. Republicans fall into that trap. They will do things because they know that it will get you to vote for them in the future. And those things are usually stupid things. They're usually the things that take away your liberty. They're usually the things that make government bigger. And they're usually the things that they will justify their actions with. Liberal Democrats, this is how they build their majorities. Their entire feel-good, and if there's any Democrats in the room, please forgive me. I know I'm going to offend you, but this is Obama's entire plan and project, right?
That helps.
I should have made that like bright yellow. I apologize. I'll read it. Therefore, a wise, this is from Machiavelli's The Prince, by the way. Therefore, a wise prince should think of a method by which his citizens, at all times and in every circumstance, will need the assistance of the state and of himself. And then they will always be loyal to him. That is not liberty. That is not freedom. That is not the American way. Well, it is the American way now, but it's not the American way it was supposed to be. Okay, how do you become an effective advocate? Relationships matter. For those of you who worked in business or worked in business, especially if you're doing sales and stuff, you build a relationship to build the business, right? That's how you do it. Well, if you don't know Tim Jones when he was speaker, or you don't know John Deal now that he's speaker, it's going to be very hard for you to walk up to and engage him in a conversation, right? If you've never taken the time to build that relationship, I don't care how mad at him you are over issue X. Because issue Y, he might be your friend. And you can't draw a hard line that way. People ask me all the time, what's it like working in politics, dealing with all the moving parts? And the best example I've ever been able to come up with is like playing multi-dimensional chess against 4 different opponents at one time, and every 4th move they rotate places. Okay? Because your friend today may be your enemy tomorrow. The most liberal Democrat in the world may be the one person that can get you what you need on this one particular issue. So you have to be aware of that. It's amazing to me the number of people who go to Jeff City don't even know who their representative is. I suggest you figure that out before you go. It's always helpful. Do you know them well enough to call their cell phone? Do you have their cell phone number? Would they give it to you? Would you be able to have a conversation? Can you disagree agreeably? Okay, because again, you draw a hard line in the sand and you make them a permanent enemy, you're not getting anywhere. Have you ever worked on their campaign? Have you ever volunteered on anybody's campaign? If you haven't, I suggest you do. Okay? Have you ever visited them in Jeff City? I don't want to digress here for a minute. So Mark is a new St. Louis County councilman. He's new to the understanding county government, and he's here, so I got to be nice to him, right? But one of the things he did was he said, Chris, he said, listen, there's just so many moving parts in county government in St. Louis County. We really have to get a handle on this. So what I want you to do is I want you to set up an appointment with every director of the major department of county government, and we're going to go to their office. We don't want them to come to our office. We want to go where they live. Okay? And guess what? He's a Republican. We're in the super minority on the St. Louis County Council. We've scheduled every meeting to be about an hour and a half. We have not yet gotten out of a meeting in less than 2.5 hours. They don't want to let us go. They're happy to tell us even what their problems are, and they know we're the Republican minority. Okay? Seek to understand where they live. And Sean and Janae and hopefully Ryan will all confirm this to you. Jeff City, not just inside the Capitol, but really Jeff City in terms of politics, is a bubble that does not live in reality. Okay? Because let me tell you something, even as a staff person, so in the Speaker's office, I was the Deputy Legislative Director, which means I'm what? 4th or 5th down on the power rung in the office. I mean, I think the secretaries are the only people below where I was. Anything I ever needed, all I had to do was pick up the phone and it would be brought to me. That's not reality, okay? I could have, if I had wanted to, never once paid for any meal the entire time I was in Jeff City. I could have gotten them all paid for. Not reality. Okay? Lowly staffer. Imagine the state representative or the state senator or the Speaker of the House. They don't have to want for anything if they don't want to. It is an act of discipline to do things for yourself after about a year. Because everybody will bring everything to you. You know, if everyone's walking around, Mr. Representative, is there anything I can get for you? Well, the first couple times, like, no, I'm good. I'll get my own coffee. Well, after about a year of that, hey, you can give me a cup of coffee. That's fine. And that's how it starts.
Who's doing all this? Who's offering all these?
Everybody.
Lobbyists or?
Lobbyists, citizen groups, everybody. Because it's all about access. And I'm going to get off the thing here, but it's all about access. Listen, it is busy. These guys can tell you, listen, every day is a 17-hour day minimum. I walked into my office every day a little bit before 7 o'clock, and I never left before 10:30 at night. Okay? 4 days a week, it is 17-hour days. And there are only so many 20-minute blocks in a day that I can talk to the Sierra Club, or I can talk to Ryan, or I can talk to Carrie Messer, or I can, if Robbie comes up and visits. I only got so many blocks in a day. So then, I got to eat, right? I got to go grab something to eat. Sean's got to eat, Janae's got to eat, the representative's got to go eat. Well, if I'm smart, I'm like, hey, we really need to talk. I'll take you to dinner if you'll just give me the hour to talk to you. It's not, listen, lobbyists are not bad guys. They're just fighting to get heard, just like you are. Okay, if you go to Jeff City, you want to take a representative lunch, you don't have to register because you're not a professional lobbyist. But what you're doing, taking that representative lunch so you can get their time, is no different than what the lobbyists do. Are there bad lobbyists? Sure. Are there great lobbyists? Yeah. There are people who are in the Capitol every day fighting for the things that you, I'm guessing, are all for. But it's hard. I mean, Janae, you're the gatekeeper for your senator. How hard is it to get, how many 20-minute blocks do you have to get him in front of everybody that wants to see him?
Very few.
It's impossible. It's just impossible. Get to know the LA, or the chief of staff, or someone in the Speaker, whoever the staff people are. Because let me tell you something, just like in the real world, those are the people who can get you what you want much faster. Okay? Those are the people who are going to write up the draft of the email, or they're going to write up the draft of the letter, or they're going to go and talk to the representative and say, you know, my job a lot of times I would walk the halls and go in a representative's office and I'd say, you know, Sean, I need to talk to Paul. The speaker wants X. Or I'd walk over to the Senate side and say, hey, you know, the speaker wants to know the follow-up on X. Well, then Frida comes into my office and says, Chris, what's going on with X? Well, I can tell her. She doesn't have to talk to the speaker. She can talk to me, and she did numerous times, didn't you? She was always in my office. She was a permanent fixture. Which is fine, I'm not complaining. But so get to know the LA, and don't assume just because they're the staff person that you can treat them poorly. The fastest way to get your bill killed or what you want is to treat the staff poorly. Don't think they're not paying attention, because we all talk. Right? If you come up and be rude to, I don't even care if I don't like Sean. I'm not saying I don't, but if I didn't like Sean, and you were rude to him, and then you came to me, you're not getting what you want. Because we work, I'm not there anymore, but when I was there, we all worked very hard. It's not an easy thing to juggle all that stuff. Okay, it is not enough to be right. Communication. How you communicate, how you speak, there's nothing worse. I mean, like, I'm the most pro-gun guy there is. I want to be able to open carry an Uzi. All right? I would never use one. But I want to be able to. I don't want someone to tell me I can't. I cannot tell you the number of people who during the veto session, not this, the one a year or so ago, people would walk into Tim Jones' office and say, I want the speaker to make sure he votes for the override of whatever the bill number was. Well, he's the sponsor of it. Get out of here. Okay? He's not the guy you have to worry about. If it's on the veto override schedule, I'm pretty sure the speaker's in favor of it. So go spend your time somewhere else. Know who you're going to talk to. Okay, so what are your goals and needs and wants? You have to have that in your head before you show up in Jeff City. Don't show up in Jeff City and then go, what is it I really want? We don't have time to help you with that. Timing is everything. Remember I said before, people show up in the Capitol and then like that issue's already being debated? There is access, and I should have pulled up a screenshot of it, but you know, you can go on the House website or the Senate website, and you can find out where bills are in the process. Committee hearings have to be posted no less than 24 hours in advance. Isn't it right, Sean? 24 hours? Yep. 24 hours, so you can find out. Now, that may not give you a lot of time to plan a trip to Jeff City, but if that issue matters to you enough. Again, how to approach a topic. And again, I'm going to offend some people in this room maybe if you put yourself in this category. There's nothing more annoying to a representative or a senator or staff than you walking into a room and assuming that you're the smartest person in that room and you act like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no faster way for me to try to get you out of the office than that. I don't have time. Okay? I don't have time. We are drinking knowledge for our bosses by fire hose. Okay? Every 20 minutes, it's something different. I'll give you an example. Like one of my first days, and you know, I'm on a learning curve here, right? Because I'm new. And I'm in the speaker's office, which means the learning curve is like this. It's not like that, it's like this. First appointment of the day was with a guy who's a lobbyist wanting something to do with, and I'm a city guy, so all you country people stop making fun of me. But so I knew that we genetically modified corn like for stronger stalks and higher yields. What I didn't know, which is pretty frightening to me, and you'd think I would have been aware of this, but we now genetically modify corn that as it grows, it releases its own pesticides as part of its growing process. I didn't know that before. I also learned a new word in my next 20-minute appointment, the word cervid. How many people know what a cervid is? That's a deer or an elk. Apparently, again, city boy, I didn't know this until last year, we actually have deer farms in Missouri. So you see where I'm going with this. Every 20 minutes there's something new, and we don't have time to feed your ego. We have 10 minutes to figure out what you're saying, and then the last 15 minutes of that 20-minute block is to figure out how to help you or not help you achieve whatever your goal is. So I don't care how complex the issue is, you got about 10 minutes to explain it to us so that we understand. Okay? Where you choose to meet them. Sometimes it's best to meet them not in the Capitol. It's too busy sometimes. So you catch them on a weekend, say, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee, whatever, Dunkin' Donuts or Bread Co. I can't tell you how many meetings I've had at Uncle Bill's there on Manchester, out near Baldwin. It seems to be the place to go. How am I doing on time? Am I doing good? All right. All right, so back to communication, because this is like the most important thing that doesn't happen. Anyone know Latin? Come on, anyone? Existence is a function of perception. Doesn't matter what it is, it matters what it appears to be. It's true in marketing, it's true in economics, and it's true on any political issue you can find. You can take any issue and make it look bad. You can take any issue and make it look good. So when you're advocating for your position, understand that. And understand how you need to make that work. Know your audience. Just because they're a Republican doesn't mean they agree with you on education issues. We have, and I'm not going to name names because I'll get in trouble and I'm on film, but there are a couple of representatives who literally, I kid you not, we joked, would have to pick up the phone and text their school superintendent to get approval to vote on a school issue. Because not in St. Louis County or in your big urban areas, but out in your rural areas, your superintendents are the most powerful political guy there is. They're the highest paid person probably in their county, except for maybe some private businessman or a farmer. Big farm, big, huge farmer, not little private farms. But I mean, they make six figures. And while that's not real impressive in St. Whit County with a lot of people, I guarantee you in small little towns, that's pretty impressive. They're the most powerful political people, and trust me, they will guard their education interests, which are opposed to most Republican ideas, viciously. Okay, back to the whole threatening thing. I'm from Chicago originally. I didn't put that in my bio. Don't throw things at me. There's an old saying in Chicago. I think it comes from the mob, but it's basically said, "Don't ask for what you can't take." Okay? If you threaten, you better be able to carry it out. Or keep your mouth shut. Don't stomp your foot. Don't wave your finger. Don't get mad, and don't threaten. I can't tell you how many times have you had people come in and threaten? Yeah? It's stupid. You can't threaten us. You can do it one time. Any of us can pick up the phone and have Capitol Police throw you out. We're not there to be threatened. And if you threaten our bosses, I guarantee you, even if they were in favor of your issue before, it's going down in flames now. It's the dumbest thing I see happen in Jeff City all the time. I get that you're passionate. In case you can't tell, I get a little passionate. That's great. Put the brakes on it. Deal rationally and deal in facts and deal to understand things. Okay, this is going to be the hot topic. Fear. There are very few people in that building, senators or representatives, who do not act out of fear. They're either afraid of the press, or they're afraid of the speaker, or they're afraid of the president pro tem of the Senate, or they're afraid of the governor, or they're afraid of you, or they're afraid of the press. The reality is they operate out of fear more than they operate out of courage, even the good ones. The good ones are smart about it. Okay? We, as advocates, also operate out of fear. Fear of loss of liberty, fear of loss of freedom, fear of loss of whatever. I'm going to try not to sound like a Baptist preacher here for a minute. Christian liberty is not living in fear of Satan. American liberty is not living in fear of your government. Okay? For all my libertarian friends, I pick on them a lot because I oftentimes don't think they truly understand the nature of liberty. True liberty. Liberty is being able to walk into your Capitol boldly without fear, with facts, with understanding, and understand that the Constitution has your back. But most of us go to the Capitol and we act out of fear, which is why we get angry, and we get too emotional, and we threaten, or we treat the staff poorly. Those are all things that will get you not what you want. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you to be arrogant or cocky. Remember that whole thing about being the smartest guy in the room? Don't be that person. I don't care how smart you are. I know some of you. Some of you are very smart. Doesn't matter. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say there?
Yep.
Don't be afraid, but understand that maybe you are, and maybe your legislator is too. This is complex stuff. There are no, really, by the time it gets to a bill and you're having committee hearings, listen, if you want to have a bill passed that says, you know, Chris can't wear a blue jacket on Saturdays, that sounds pretty simple. It's not that simple. It's never that simple. And most of the really serious stuff is very complex. I had a discussion with some legislators in the previous session, right after the veto session, you know, where the quote-unquote fabulous 15 didn't vote to override the governor on the tax increase. You guys remember that? Not this last time, but the time before that. And they're like, Chris, you know, these people don't understand. There were sections in that bill that were bad. And I said, okay, I get the nuance of legislation. Sean gets it, Janae gets it, Ryan gets it, others of you get it. But the average person who's not here on a Saturday morning, just walks down the street, here's what they know. There was a possibility of a tax cut and we didn't get it. So every time the Republicans said we had a supermajority, we looked like idiots. Because we couldn't override the governor, even though we had the ability. And then the response is, well, it was bad legislation. So either you didn't have the courage or you're incompetent, which is, if it was bad legislation, how'd it get that far? It was, by the way, there was flaws in it. It could have been fixed. So what the legislators didn't understand is that, listen, I don't care what position you took. If you didn't vote for the override and then fix it later, all you did was appear gutless or incompetent, right? What other options were there? By the way, when you vote in veto session, with things, you know, most people don't realize that becomes a party line deal. That's about embarrassing the governor. Whatever's wrong with the legislation can be fixed later. But that was a missed opportunity. But those people didn't understand that the people not in this room, the regular citizens out there, if I was to walk to McDonald's and just poll them, they wouldn't get it. All right, knowing the issue from all vantage points. The successful lobbyist, the successful advocate, understands all the reasons, even though, let's say I'm for House Bill whatever. And Sean here is an advocate, and he's against House Bill whatever. Okay? If I know his argument as well as he does, I win. Okay? So seek first to understand, then be understood. Understand your enemy. Understand their logic. Understand their approach. Be able to articulate it. And then you'll be able to defend your position much better. I love this one. Write that one down, or if you can't print it off, I'll send it to you, but it's true. If you know yourself and you know your enemy, you have not feared the outcome of 1,000 battles. Right? Okay, so process. I'm going to glance through this very quickly. And one of the things I tell people to get, I always had this on my desk, had a copy of the Constitution. I had a copy of the state Constitution, but it's a lot bigger. I don't carry that one around. Rules of the House, and a guide to the House legislative process. All right, now I'm not going to go into every detail, but this is basically how a bill moves, technically. Maybe not really, but technically how it moves. I call them third read Thursdays because that's what they generally do on Thursdays before they bail to head back to the district. We call them third read Thursdays. Bill summaries, if you go onto the House website, yes, sir.
Can you explain what it means to third read though? Just kind of sum that up.
Yeah, I think one of them was going to cover it, but I can basically go over it. So the first read and second read is really done through the clerk's office. It's not really read. I mean, they read like that, the bill caption heading, and that's it. They don't go into every detail of the bill. And so it's pretty just a thing, right? Third read Thursday is really the hurdle before it moves on to the next part of the process. And those are usually clicked out pretty quick on Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. And that's when you know a bill's probably going somewhere. If it gets to third read Thursday, it's probably going somewhere. No guarantee of that, but if it doesn't get there, it's definitely not moving forward down that line. Now, Rules Committee, and Sean, you might have to help me out on this. I know things are a little different now with the new committee structure, and since I'm not there, I'm not perfectly in tune with how that's set up. So I don't know, maybe you can cover that when you, I think you're covering on that part of it. But here's the thing you have to, when I mentioned earlier, when a bill hits the floor for debate, it's done. That's window dressing and all for show. I mean, there's some real debate and they get really angry and they go back and forth, but the first couple people that are called on, a lot of that debate's scripted. They had debate prep the night before and they planned it out and they pretty much know what the argument's going to be, yeah.
When did that change? Because I know 30 years ago it wasn't that way.
I don't know. I think as the bills started moving, I mean, I don't know when it changed. Janae, I don't know if you know when it changed. I just know that as you move into that phase of it, the whip count's already been done and they know that they're going to win. And of course now we know we're going to win pretty much no matter what. So maybe that's when the supermajorities started. You know, maybe just planning to beat back the rebuttal of the Democrats. I don't know. But back to the bill summaries, one of the jobs that I had for the speaker was I took the bill summary from the committee hearings and I took the actual bill and I converted it all to plain language and summarized it on one piece of paper. And then also included how the committee voted, who testified for it, who testified against it, what the vote was coming out of the Rules Committee, which is a little bit different structure then than it is now. But that would tell you a lot about a bill. Now here's the funny, when we talk about lobbyists, I saw a funny thing when I was in session. I don't know, Jim, how many times this happened. I see Lemke back here in the back. But I actually saw a lobbyist have to testify for and against the same bill because he had two different clients.
Oh my goodness.
How often does that? Doesn't happen very often, but I saw it last session. It was pretty interesting. So take that for what it is, but it does occasionally happen, which should tell you a lot about the process. Okay, in the bigger picture, sponsor, who is the original sponsor of a bill? So like a lot of times groups will come to Jeff City and say, well, I went to so-and-so because they're my representative and I wanted, you know, them to carry the bill. Well, that's a neat sentiment. But I'm telling you, just because they're a Republican doesn't mean that that bill's moving, because people have enemies. Relationships matter. All right? And you may have the best freedom-loving, liberty-loving bill, but if a Democrat's the author and sponsor of it, then you have a really uphill battle. Okay? And not that Democrats won't try to pass good bills, some of them will. It's rare, but it does happen. So if you come up with a bill, Chris Howard can't wear blue blazers on Saturday mornings, and you want to get it passed, I would suggest that you talk to somebody to find out who the best person is to try to get that passed, because your first choice may not be the best choice.
Who said somebody at Frankfurt?
That all depends on what the bill is and what the subject matter is. You know what I'm saying? But you can talk to your legislator and ask them about who would be best to help advance that bill. They may tell you, listen, I'm not the guy to do that. You know. Chain of evidence. So who has the bill? Now this is kind of a funny. I'll tell you this. How am I doing on time there, boss? Okay. All right. So I'll try and whip through here pretty quick. Chain of evidence. Who has the bill? So this is pretty funny, and I'll kind of incorporate it in with committee chair and power of referral. So, and I won't embarrass anybody by telling you who this was. So there was a bill last session that the sponsor, the author of the bill, had talked to the speaker about getting passed. There was a slot system, and I won't get into it, but basically it was kind of a thing that the speaker had. And it was kind of a guarantee you'd get the bill to refer to the committee you wanted, guaranteed, right? Because the speaker has power of referral. So if you have a bill that says Chris Howard can't wear blue blazers on Saturday morning, and your bill sponsor files the bill, and I go to the speaker and I say, hey, listen, man, I like my blue blazers on Saturday morning. I can make sure your bill never gets referred, never gets heard, never happens. Okay. Well, in this particular case, the committee chair said, yeah, you know what, send the bill to me, I'll move it along, it's great. Committee chair lied. Committee chair was against the bill. Committee chair sat on the bill. We had a big meeting in the speaker's office. Tim was not very happy about it. Tim said, Chris, I need you to go to that committee chair. I need you to ask for the bill back. Physically, because it's like a chain of evidence. Who has the bill is really in control of the bill. Okay? Now, Janae, Sean, Senator Lemke, how awkward would it be to have a staff member walk up and say, the speaker wants the bill back? Right? That was my job that day. I had to go and ask this representative for the bill back. And I won't say exactly what he said, but it was rather sulfurous language and basically told me to get out of his office. And I said, Representative X, just so we're clear, the speaker has sent me down here to get the bill back. I need to get the bill back. Well, I'm not giving it to you no matter what. What are you going to do about it? Here's the thing. Speaker of the House has absolute control if he or she needs to. It's been done twice that I'm aware of. I think Catherine Hanaway did it once, and Bob Griffin did it once. I'll tell you the Bob Griffin story because I don't want to make Catherine look bad. But, so Bob Griffin had a Democrat that challenged him for the speakership. When that was all done and settled, that representative didn't have an LA, was locked out of his office, lost his parking space, and his desk off the House floor was taken. He had to stand the entire time. The Speaker of the House can do that to you. So I told this representative, I said, listen, please don't make me go back to the Speaker and tell him that what you said. He goes, I don't care. What are you going to do about it? I said, well, I can tell you by the time I walk upstairs, your legislative agenda is dead. No more bills will go to your committee, and you will not get called on the rest of the session. He didn't give the bill back, and that's what happened. That's just, where did I put the thing? Don't do that. So, power of referral. The Speaker can refer a bill, can move a bill. By the way, we had that representative refile a bill, moved it to a committee. You never saw a bill move so fast. Right around that particular representative. No floor leader. Now here's the thing. The Speaker has an awful lot of authority, but if the floor leader, majority floor leader, is in opposition to a bill, once it gets to him, so once it's gone through the committee process, gone through all the reads, gone through all that stuff, now it goes to the floor leader. Floor leader doesn't want to see it go to the floor. It's not going to the floor. It dies right there. Okay, just real quick, we've covered this before. Relationships matter. Build relationships with people. I'm almost out of time, so I got to cruise. The truth will set you free. Know the facts. Know the basics. Don't make stuff up. If you don't know, don't make it up. Oh, I should have gone back. Hold on. Can I go back on this thing? Yeah, okay. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone. Otherwise, why would you go? Why would you be involved? Why would you be here? You have an agenda. So it comes back to seeking to understand. What's the agenda? Having an agenda isn't a bad thing. I have an agenda. I know Bill over here has an agenda. Walt has an agenda. My boss Mark over there has an agenda. Senator Lemke has an agenda. Ryan's got an agenda. It's not bad, but understand it, no. Form letters, sending letters, grammar counts. I'm not going to hand something to the Speaker, or he's not going to hand something to Representative Kerman with all kinds of grammatical errors and misstatements, and don't be that person. And be polite. Be courteous. Plain and simple. Be courteous. These people have been elected by a majority of people in their district, whether you like them or agree with them or not. They have earned a certain degree of respect and politeness and courteousness. You don't have to like them. You don't have to agree with them. But there's no excuse for being rude. It doesn't help your cause. It doesn't help your argument. And any staff member will never, ever let you get to them if you're rude to them. All right. So there's my Twitter handle. You can email me if you want anything. Hopefully I've kind of set a stage for the other speakers. Listen, this stuff is really important. But too often I see people come to Jeff City unprepared, unaware, and just they want to vent. You know, I kind of liken it, and I should tell Dwayne to turn off the camera, but fortunately my wife won't watch it. It's kind of like arguing with my wife. Okay, she comes to me and presents me with a problem and says, Chris, this is a problem. Now, in the first 5 years I was married, I'd try to fix the problem as soon as I could, because that's what guys do, we try to fix problems. It took me 5 years to figure out that if I just listened to the problem, validated that it was in fact the problem, 60% of the time, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to do anything else. She didn't need me to fix her problem. She just needed me to verify that it was a problem and sympathize with her about it. Is that not true in Jeff City? Sometimes if you just listen to what their problem is, that's all you have to do. How am I doing?
5 minutes.
All right, go ahead.
Chris, tell them about the don't send out farm letters on.
Oh yeah, so form letters, listen. Oh, and witness testimony, I'm going to mention that too. Somebody don't let me forget to mention it. So listen, if Ryan sends you an email and says, send all this to your representatives, that's fine. Add something to it, especially in the first paragraph. Because after about the first 4 of those I get, I stop reading. If they all have the same heading, and they all have the same format, the first 5 sentences are the same, I don't read them anymore. I don't read them for Mark, I didn't read them for Tim. Witness forms. If you can't go to Jeff City, somebody will say, well, fill out a witness form and send it in. Nobody ever reads those, by the way. The only ones they look at are the ones of the people that are there. So unless you can get 5,000 witness forms sent in and there's a stack sitting there that big, nobody knows. I hate to tell you that, but that's just the truth. Either go to Jeff City and testify, or get 1,000 people to send in witness forms so that there's a stack of them. Otherwise, because they don't have time. There isn't time to read them. Did you have a question?
I was just going to ask on that form letter, would it, even if it is the same form letter, if there's a bunch, would that make a difference?
No.
It does.
I'll read the first couple and I'll say we got 50 of these form letters.
That was kind of my question. My question was, you say 5,000.
Well, the bigger the stack, the better.
Right.
Paper's pretty thin.
So what about 1,000? And besides that, you know they're all for whatever it is or against whatever it is. But what about, are the names of those people, does that matter? So Ron walks in with a stack of 1,000 or 2,000 every time, or whoever that's starting to do those, which I've always liked, those witness forms. So they walk in with these stacks, set them up on the table, and anymore, those don't mean anything?
Some they don't mean anything. The perception of seeing the stack sit there. So like smart legislators, I've seen a couple people do this. They'll walk up at some point afterwards and they'll grab the stack and they'll lift about halfway off and they'll look to see if it's a blank piece of paper or not. And then they'll put the piece of paper back down. So if it's filled out, they'll look at that and then they acknowledge that, okay, that many people are for or against an issue. I won't tell you who does that, by the way, but there's one legislator who always does it. Yes, sir.
Say no form letters, which is, yes, I agree. Back in the day before email, handwritten notes were the best.
Oh, wonderful. We love those, even if they're mad at us.
Now that email's around, is email better or worse?
Yes. It depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. A personal handwritten note, or you know what else works real well in that whole view of like the witness forms? Postcards. You gotta have a stack of postcards, all for one issue. And then it's a visual, you're not gonna read them all, but it's a visual representation of where people are at. You took the time to write it out, and you put a stamp on it, you send it in, versus send me an email. You cared enough to do that, that means something. Does that make sense?
So the blank piece of paper thing, is the...
Yes, people have done it.
And so people don't check for that? I mean...
There are some who do. There are some who check for it. But there are some who don't. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Stay awake.